So this is bad. In fact, I'm truly ashamed. I don't think I've ever been more ashamed. Hi, everybody. I'm back. Nice to see you all again. Thanks for joining me. Sometimes it's hard for me to get these things out because I'm working on other things in my life, and sorry about that. Thanks to all the people, several people who wrote to me and contacted me and asked me to start back up again. I appreciate you. Um, Before I get into today's topic, I want to just do some um, house cleaning. I'm really, really unhappy with YouTube. I'm really, really unhappy with how YouTube has treated Russell Brand. I'm going to do a video on Russell Brand. This is not that video, but uh, I can't in good conscience, you know, work on YouTube anymore. This project, this video channel is not an income source for me. It's a hobby. It's a vanity project, and I'm not gonna do this on YouTube anymore. At least not as a primary. I'm gonna be on Twitter. I have a good presence on Twitter. I'm going to publish videos on Twitter. Please follow me on Twitter. It's just more moral. It's a more moral company. So this is hopefully going to be my first video on Twitter, and I'll post maybe a few more on YouTube just to remind people to go there. But I can't support I can't support YouTube anymore. It's just not a moral thing for me to do. There was a new poll. And this poll was about whether or not it's okay to shout down a speaker that you don't like in order to stop that speaker from speaking. This poll shows I can't even talk about this poll. It just makes me so unhappy. How acceptable is it to shout down a speaker to prevent them from speaking on campus, sorted by religion? And look who's worst. Look who's last. Over 75% of atheists think it's okay to shout down a speaker to prevent them from speaking on campus. This is a huge failure of the atheist community. This is a huge failure of the atheist movement. Ladies and gentlemen, everybody in blue on this whole chart doesn't know how to practice skepticism. Everybody in blue on this chart doesn't practice skepticism, and we are last in the practice of skepticism. And remember, folks, skepticism is not an identity, okay? It is a verb. Skepticism is a thing you do. How do you do skepticism? Well, let's take the most simplest thing, okay? If you were going to explain skepticism to a 5-year-old, what would you say to the 5-year-old as the basic building block of skepticism? What would you say to a 5-year-old? You'd probably say, listen to both sides. You'd probably say, listen to both sides. Because that's the number one kernel of skepticism. Looking at both sides and considering and doing what you can to consider objectively who is right and who is wrong. If you are shouting down people, you are not sure that you're right. How in the world can you be sure that you're right if you can't be sure, if you can't beat your opponent, if you can't beat what your opponent is doing? When I was president of American Atheists, we brought preachers up on stage. We didn't shout them down. Why not? Because we didn't fear them. Why not? Because we knew we were right. So we put them on stage and we debated them and we showed the world that atheism was correct. It was easy because it was true. These people, those 76% atheists in this 76%, they don't do skepticism. They don't do the first part about skepticism. Their objective is to drown out the people that they decide are wrong without listening to them first. That's not skepticism, and it's terrible, okay? It's terrible. I used to speak about my trips to China and how the Chinese people had a dogmatic atheism, not a skeptical atheism like here in the West. They have a dogmatic atheism. Just remember that atheism is true. And what do you get from a dogmatic atheism? An atheism that's not rooted in skepticism. Well, you get a whole bunch of superstition in China. You get a whole bunch of people believing nonsense. And what are you getting here? A whole bunch of people believing nonsense about being able to change your genders with your change your sex with your brain, or transition children because they think they're trans, and trans kids never change their minds. It's insane, but it's very analogous. If you look at what they're doing here, these people, everybody in blue, I don't know if you can see my arrow, but everybody in blue under the atheist part, uh, they're not doing skepticism. They're like the Chinese atheists. Okay? Those people are being atheists not because they have done skepticism. They're being atheists because of other reasons, probably because it's cool or trendy. And now they're believing in whatever they're being told. This is another analogy. It's another support for the analogy of wokeism being a religion, because it's exactly the same. If you look at an analogy between the dogmatic atheists in China believing in numerology and ghosts, and here we are, the dogmatic atheists in America believing whatever they're freaking told, and you get 24%. 24% of atheists in this poll are right. 24% know what it's like to do skepticism. They understand the concept of listening to both sides. Oh, and common courtesy. And common courtesy, because everybody should know that they could be wrong. Okay? You could be wrong about everything, and so could I. And in order to find out if you're wrong, you subject your views to skepticism, not because you need to be told you're right. This isn't about being told you're right. It's about being right. And you become right via skepticism, which is a verb. It is work. It is not something that you pronounce yourself as because you think you're right all the time. It is a verb that you do, and it has a result that you become more knowledgeable. And you cannot do that. You cannot do skepticism if you drown people out. You cannot be informed. If you don't listen to your other side, you can't be sure you're right about anything until you can refute your opponent's arguments. That's how you know you're right. When everything they put up, you can just knock down. That's how you know you're right. Not because you surround yourself by people who tell you you're right, because for every person that tells you you're right, that agrees with you, there's another 5 that tell you that you're wrong. You need to find out by yourself. You need to find out for yourself. And you need to do that by doing the art of skepticism, doing the act of skepticism. The 24% on this chart, they know how to do it. The 76% who sometimes or always, I can't believe sometimes all. I can't believe 44% say always. We're this. This is an embarrassment. Okay, this is showing the world right here that atheists are worse at skepticism than everybody else. This is our game. We're supposed to be the top of this chart. We're supposed to be the most skeptical of this chart. Who's the most skeptical on this chart? The Christians. Who's the least skeptical on this chart? The atheists. Why? Because we live in a bizarro fucking world, like I was telling Bogosian. We live in a bizarro fucking world. Look at this chart. This is exactly the opposite of what it should be. Atheists should be on the top, but we're on the bottom at our own game. We are the worst at our own game. This is nothing less than an absolute failure of the atheist movement, an absolute failure of leftism, but of secularism. It's an absolute failure of us. We blew it. We made dogmatic atheists. We didn't want to. This is not my influence. I take no blame here. You did not get this shit from me. Okay, I was always about putting the other people up on stage. Even at my most woke, I wanted other people up on stage. But man, I this is just crazy. And I don't know what more to say, folks. It just seems like this is a barometer for how bad it is to be an atheist these days, or how bad the atheist movement is, or how bad off is atheism in America today. It's insane that we're last on this chart. It's insane that we are eschewing, proudly eschewing skepticism, proudly eschewing the act of skepticism. Atheists standing up and saying, no, I will not hear the other side, and neither will you. Fuck those people. Man, we need to slap these people upside the head. The 24% need to rise up and rage. This is outrageous. I don't want to know anybody in the blue. I don't want to know anybody in the blue until you come the fuck over to the red side on this, the orange side. This is shameful. This is embarrassing. This is us falling face down in front of the whole world, showing everybody that we are the worst at our own game. I just wanted to mention that Atheists for Liberty is having a $10,000 donation match by me. If you donate to Atheists for Liberty between now and the end of the year, I will match your donation up to $10,000 because I think Atheists for Liberty is that important. I think every atheist out there needs to hear my words. You need to hear both sides. You always need to hear both sides. You can never find out, you can never be sure if you're right until you can refute the other's arguments. Not until other people can refute the other's arguments. Not until other people say they can refute the other's arguments, or other people say that the other people's arguments are just batty poo. No. Skepticism is you being able as an individual to refute the other people's arguments. That's how you know you're right. It is the only and best way for you to know you're right. When you hear the other sides and you can say, I can refute that, I can refute that, I can refute that, I can refute that. If you can do that, then you can be sure you're right. If you surround yourself with a whole bunch of people who tell you you're right, and you go and shout down people who think that you're wrong, you gain nothing. You earn no power. You get no advantage of that over it at all. You say, we went there and we shouted that guy down and we're right. You're dogmatics. You're dogmatists. You're not skeptics at all. If you can't listen to your other side, if you can't listen, if you don't look forward to sitting down and hearing your opponent's points because you can refute them, or because you can learn to refute them through work and effort, then you are not a skeptic. And if you are not a skeptic, well, you really need to be, because you're going to be a pawn, just like the Chinese. Well, I've said my piece. What do you think? Please like and share this video. Put a comment in the comment section. Let me know what you think about this. Thanks, everybody. Good to see you again. Thanks for your time. Have a great day.